Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour. My name is Martin Cowart, and we've been gathering here together for over a year now, initially to love and support each other through the pandemic crisis. And what a year last year was. And while we're still in the dark in some ways, and we're still not back to a new normal, we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And now it's like, well, now that we've gotten ourselves through, what have we learned about ourselves? And how do we make the world different? How do we build this new earth, this new world from a place of love and prosperity and abundance that we've discovered over the last year? Most people I talked to, me included, had a time to sort of slow down and really realize how wonderful life is on planet Earth, and how grateful we are. And we've actually, during the year, we elected some officials, some government officials in our country who align with our values of caring for each other, caring for our planet, creating social and economic structures that benefit everyone, not just a few. And that feels better. It just feels good, doesn't it? Doesn't it just feel good to have people leading the country and coming on television and talking about solving problems for us every day? I just feel so. I enjoy watching the news. I enjoy watching the news now because we've got bright, smart, intelligent people who are stepping into their power to help solve the problems in the world today that we created. Every problem out there we all created. And so we've got the joy now of actually, as the creators of the problem, we are collectively and individually solving them. We're solving them. We're enacting laws. We're doing it. We are supporting. We're loving and supporting let's call it the agenda or the strategic plan of the current government administration, who wants to have a good environment, who wants to build an infrastructure, who wants to get jobs in people's hands, who wants to build the economy so that everybody can have a wonderful life. These are problem-solving strategies that just feel good, don't they? Don't they just simply feel good? You know, it feels good to solve problems, and we're solving problems from the heart. We're solving problems from the heart. And I want to share with you something so I decided, one of the things that I did during the pandemic was I gave some thought about the processes of solving problems. And I looked at the process that I had to solving my problem with money. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story. And again, if you're joining us, I want to encourage you, please drop in and say hello in the chat so that I know you're here. And that way we can have some dialogue, because I like dialogue. And if you're watching the replay, do the same thing. Put your name in the chat, ask your comments, and I'll come back and answer them later. But let me go back to my story of how I created this, how I solved my problem with my obsession with money. And I've been in AA recovery for over 8 years, and I had a few years ago, back in 2018, when I was going through a particularly difficult time. I would call it my darkest hour of my life. I was in fear. I was facing bankruptcy, and I was just not able to really function in the world. I was so full of fear and anger, and I was projecting it out in the world that nobody wanted to work with me, and I didn't want to work with me, quite frankly. It was just, so my business was tanking. It was tumbling. And the more it tumbled, the more obsessed I was with money and success, because I wasn't getting it. I was obsessed with what I wasn't having, which was not enough money to pay my bills. And one day, my spiritual teacher, my AA sponsor at the time, a wonderful woman, said to me, "Martin, you're just not sober." And I said, "What do you mean I'm not sober? I haven't had a drink in years." And she says, "No, it's not about alcohol, friend. You are obsessed with money. All you talk about is money." Well, that's because I'm famous. I know, but it's like an obsession of yours, and the more you obsess over it, and the more you give power to it. So we're going to have to, if you want, she understood because she'd been there herself. We need to apply the 12 steps of recovery to recovering you from your obsession with money. That's what we did. So we began to apply those same spiritual principles. One, you got to own the problem. You got to own it. And number two, you got to say, well, I'm the one that created this problem. Nobody else created my problem. If I'm an alcoholic, a lot of people drink without having a problem with it. I'm the one that created a problem with alcohol, nobody else. I'm the one that created a problem with my business going almost bankrupt. I didn't go bankrupt, but almost going bankrupt. And one solution was to go bankrupt and then sort of put a band-aid on it, but it wouldn't solve the core problem. It wouldn't solve the core problem, which we needed to do which was my obsession with money. So we went through the steps, and we went through them. And lo and behold, as I began to unpack the whole thing and go through the steps, step by step, I realized that all my problem was based on a great big lie. I was telling myself that I wasn't good enough, basically. That was it. It was based on a real deep, what I call a shadows belief that I'm not good enough. And I was protecting myself in some way. And I had to, in the way it was showing up in the world, I was out there trying to prove I was worthy by making a lot of money and getting rich. I was out there, I had to prove that I was valuable. I had to prove that I was worthy of love. And you take that on top of the fact that I'm a gay man, it was even more important that I become rich and successful and important in the world, in the eyes of others, in order to be lovable. That was my basic lie. But the thing is, going through the 12-step program with her, we were able to unravel that, and we were to go in and say, that's just not true. I'm worthy of love just because I'm alive. And I won't go too much into it, but what it did was all of a sudden I began to see the world different. I went through a transformational experience where I began to see myself as abundant and full of love, and I began to see the world as a place of abundance and joy and generosity and with infinite resources to get on. And I began to see my creator differently. I was no longer seeing God as a judgmental person that was judging me, because I began to see him as my creator who loved me just the way I am. So when I shifted from being in fear of the world, in fear of myself, in fear of being judged by God and others, I went to a place of love and acceptance and gratitude for this life. And through that transformational experience, I solved my problem with money. It didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen. I wanted more money to stay in the business I was in. But actually what happened was, because I realized that I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing. This wasn't my calling in the world. Back in the day, this was when I was a wealth manager and I was managing money. I had a big fancy office on Park Avenue. If you were to come in my office, you would think I was the most successful wealth manager on the planet. I worked for a big old Fortune 100 financial services firm on the 44th floor with a big office overlooking Park Avenue. Wow, you would have thought I was scared to death. I was so full of fear. Like my therapist said to me, Martin, you don't have a fear of money. You are money terrorized you. And it did. So through the 12 steps, we unpacked it all. We realized that my great-grandfather killed his brother over money. My grandfather, who went to college in a Stutz Bearcat, committed suicide in his late 60s, broke. And my mother and my father argued about money their entire lives. And my mother never let my father feel like he was really good. I learned it from my parents. And they learned it from their parents. They were bad people. They were loving. My parents were loving, wonderful people, and I adore them. But there was this obsession with the need to be rich and successful in order to be important that they gave to me. And through the 12 steps, I had to unlearn that lie and find the truth. And that's how I solved the problem. So what I've done is I have taken, as a coach now, I've taken the same principles that are in the 12-step recovery program and reduce it to a very simple 3-step process and put it into a workbook, which I'm going to show you right now how to go through it. Well, I'm not going to go through the whole workbook with you because I'm going to do a workshop in a couple of weeks, live workshop on May 15th. I believe it's a Saturday. We're going to do a live workshop on exactly how to go through the workbook. So I'm letting you know, mark your calendars for noon, May I think it's Saturday. I think let me make sure it's the right date. So I know it's going to be a Saturday. I just want to make sure it's the right date. Yes, Saturday the 15th. Saturday the 15th at noon, we're going to have a 1-hour workshop on how to use this workshop. So you can bring your problem. It's going to be Zoom, so it's going to be interactive, and we're going to show you exactly how to solve a problem using this workshop. And it works because it's based on the same spiritual principles that have saved millions and millions and millions of people from alcoholism and drug abuse. And it's the same. It's the same principle that helped me get through my obsession with money and fear and bankruptcy and all that. So now I live a life of love and joy and prosperity. That's the transformational process. And that's what problem solving is. It's going through a transformation so we begin to see ourselves, our creator, and our world a little bit different. Okay? So as you see here on the side, there's a cover of the workbook. It's called the Heart Space Method Problem Solving Workbook. And again, it's based on the 3 principles of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this is the most important thing I can show you. Let me take down my banner here 1 second. Oh, that's just no way. There we go. Oh, I don't want, that's good. Let's take down this banner. There we go. That's much better, isn't it? Again, comment if you're hearing me and understanding me. Comment, ask questions in the chat section. I'm happy to slow down. If you're watching the replay, again, slow down. You know, this is something I want to slow down. I want to teach you the concept behind this workbook today, and then we're going to meditate. We're going to meditate on it, and because meditation is part of the process. It is the final part. It is a surrendering part. So let's just get started. But the first step to solving any problem is owning your role in creating it. It's the hardest one. You know, for anybody going into AA recovery, it's the hardest thing they have to learn is they realize they created their problem with alcohol. They created their problem with drugs. The same way I created my problem with money. Nobody else created my problem with money. I had a lot of influences on it, but I'm the one that created the problem. And the good news there, if you created the problem, then you have the power to solve it. I had the power. I was powerless until I owned it. And once I owned it and realized that I needed help to solving it, something bigger, a bigger mind, if you will. Einstein says you cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that we used when we created the problem. I solved the problem with my narcissistic ego thinking mind that told me I had, based on a lie, that I had to go out and make a lot of money and be important in order to be lovable. That's the mind that I used. That was the thinking that I used to create the problem. I needed a higher power. I needed a higher resource, a higher method, a higher level of consciousness. We say in AA, a higher power to help us solve the problem. But first, I had to acknowledge that it was me and my ego thinking mind and my narcissistic needs to get my needs met that created the problem in the first place. Make sense? You understand? Just type in a yes into the chat so I know that I'm making sense to you, okay? So here it is, the understanding the process. It's simply a process that's based on the core spiritual principles found in the 12-step recovery process. And basically, we experience fear for a lot of reasons, but we basically experience fear because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid something bad is going to happen to us in the future. Based often because something bad, it triggers a memory of something bad happening like that in the past. For example, if you're at a big party or a networking event and somebody you never even seen before walks in the room, all of a sudden you have this kind of reaction like, oh, I don't like that person. I don't kind of, you don't even know why. You just think, that person looks like somebody I'll stay away from. You can do that. You can stay in fear, but then you think, well, what's that based on? Based on nothing. It's just you don't know why. So what you might do is, in that case, without even thinking about it, you might get the courage to go over and have some curiosity to go find out what this person has created this reaction and is all about. So you go over and you speak to the person, and all of a sudden you realize you have a lot in common, and you're friends, and all of a sudden you're having this great conversation together. You solved your problem. That fear you had of this person was somebody that was going to hurt you in some way was not that at all. It was a story. It was a lie. But sometimes these feelings of fear can be so large, so great, so big. Like in my case, when I was lying on the bed, and I think the world's coming to an end about money, that we need some help. We need a process to help us find the truth. And so I created this workbook, and it's a 3-step process. It starts with 1, accepting responsibility, which we've already talked about. 2, we got to get really clear on what the problem is. What is the problem? And like in the case of in my money, the problem was I wasn't making enough money in the business I was doing to pay my bills. That's the problem. And I wasn't attracting any clients. I wasn't attracting clients. People didn't want to work with me. I was creating a problem. Okay. So, but I got really clear. The problem was that in the business, in the job that I was in my professional career, I was not making enough money to pay my bills. That was a problem. That was a problem. And it was taking me to the edge of bankruptcy. And then the third, which is sort of what I might call the metaphysical portion, the spiritual portion, we have to surrender that to a higher power. Very basic, classic 12-step recovery process. Own it, be clear about it, and then surrender it to a higher power. Make sense? Sometimes, while it's easy as that first step is the hardest, because we want to blame it. We want to blame our problem on others. We want to blame it on our parents. We want to blame it on our child. We want to blame it on somebody else. You know, I want to blame it on the fact that nobody wanted to work with me. But you know what? All mine. But we get our power back. When we're blaming others, we're giving up our power. The first step to getting our power back is owning that we did it. Now we have the power we need within ourselves to actually solve it. And then we go on to the next step, and that is we get real clear about the problem. And in the workbook, I'm just going to go through the instructions. The workbook we'll browse through in a minute, but we're going to do that in more detail on the 15th of May, on Saturday. But today I want to just give you some teaching on how to use it. So the Clarify is a six-step process that breaks down the various components of the problem, so we can get some real clarity on exactly what the problem is. And the first step is we want to write down all the data, whatever happened, without any emotions, without any judgments. It's just like in the example I'm going to use here. Debbie didn't show up for a lunch date, and I sat ate alone. That's a true statement. Debbie didn't show up for a lunch date that we had planned, that we both committed to, and I sat ate alone. That's just the facts. There's no emotion there. There's no judgment. That's going to come later. But we start with simply stating what the facts are. What happened that created this problem? In my case with the money, it was I wasn't making enough money. The fact was I wasn't getting any clients, and I wasn't making enough money to pay my bills, and I had a lot of bills to pay. Those are the facts. Those are the things that had to happen. That's it. Those are the facts. Maybe been more, but those were the facts. You see, there's no judgment. Those are just the things that happened. And then the second part of the step is the story we make up about it. What are the judgments? What are the opinions? What are the beliefs we make up about those facts? For in the case of the example of the girl, Debbie, who didn't show up, well, I could say she's a selfish, mean person who doesn't care about me, and she only cares about herself. She's a selfish woman who only cares about herself, and you want to tell your story fully from the place of the victim. How are you hurt by this event, by whatever happened? You know, people didn't want to work with me because they're all selfish. You know, they don't understand me. They don't get me. It's they, or it, whatever it is, whatever they did or I believe they did that I want to blame them for the problem for. Okay, so that's a part of the story, and so you want to get real clear about that. So you write the story out. You got the facts, and then the final is the emotions. How does it make you feel? You know, made me feel sad and angry, and some shame. I felt shame, a lot of shame around that. Men particularly feel a lot of shame around not being enough and not having enough money. We connect a lot of our sense of worth, our real, our personal worth to money. Matter of fact, that's probably the number one. That's probably the number one most common problem with self-worth out there. Everybody, gay, straight, associates some level of focus of pain and struggle around our worth and our money, and that's the truth. So we create the story, and then it makes us feel shame. And then the fourth part of the 6-step process is to really take the story and write about it, journal about it, and really get down to the problem. What is the problem? Well, the problem was simply I was eating alone, and I don't like to eat alone. It makes me feel bad. Okay, that's the problem. No story. The problem is I don't like to eat. I was eating alone, and I don't like to eat alone. You know, if I'm going to eat alone, I don't like to be surprised. I don't like being surprised. You know, whatever it is. That's the problem. And then we go to the next piece, and that's the impact. How is the problem affecting your life? Well, maybe I'm setting up all these appointments with people, and I'm not getting clear about the commitment, and it's making me feel bad about myself. It's making me feel bad that I don't trust people. I don't trust myself. And what's the impact on my relationships? What's my impact on? I may not trust Debbie as much because she stood me up. And what's the impact on me and my money business? Well, I was unable to pay my bills, and I was unable to get new clients. That's how this problem affected me. And then the other part of the impact is, what do we perceive the impact could be on other people? Well, they may not trust me either. I don't know. You don't know what the impact is on someone. We don't say the impact on others is blank. Like you know the impact on ourselves, but we do have a perception. We can put down what we think the impact could be, particularly on what the impact could be on those relationships. So that's the fourth step. The fifth step. The fifth step is the fifth part of the second process is we got to get into the impact. How did this problem really impact me and affect me and the people in my orbit? And the final and the most important is we got to highlight whatever the shadow's belief is. What is the shadow belief? And I'm going to scoot over there for that real quick and show you what those look like. So the shadow's belief is always some version of lack. There's something wrong with me. The shadow is always in a mode of protecting that lie. It will go at great lengths to make sure that you are trapped in this lie of some portion. And then it will impact your, and to reinforce that lie, it will cause you to behave in a certain way. You'll be behaving what we call behaving out of shadow. And it's usually a very self-serving way of behaving. It's a very narcissistic way of behaving because the shadow wants to prove to you and to the world that it's right, that you aren't worthy, that you aren't smart, you aren't stupid, you don't deserve it. Whatever it is trying to tell you, it wants to make sure it preserves that lie. That's the shadow's belief, and that's the impact. That's how it's happening. That's the way it works. So now that we've gotten all of that together, we're going to go in and we're going to figure out, well, what do we do to solve this problem? Now that we know we created it, we've got a real clear picture of how we created it and what's driving the bus, if you will, what's driving the system is this shadow belief. Now we get to the third part, which is the surrender. Now we get to the part that says, okay, I can't handle this problem at the level that created it. And I like to say, trying to solve any kind of problem with the ego thinking mind is like trying to play the violin with a chainsaw. It isn't that the chainsaw is bad. It was just that the chainsaw was designed to cut and separate, not play music. Same way with the ego thinking mind. It was made to create problems, not to solve them. So this is where we use our contemplative prayer and put it into action. And contemplative prayer is a particular type of prayer or meditation where we go inside ourselves to find our true nature, to find out, to directly tap into that deeper sense of worth and value within ourselves, that authentic part, that divine self. We could call that, in Napoleon Hill's book, he called that infinite intelligence. So we go in and we contemplative prayer as a way to transcend the limitations of the ego thinking mind and plug into the higher vibrational frequencies of the creative aware mind or infinite intelligence. And so that's that, and then we use the spiritual process of surrendering to let it go, which is what we do next. And then, and we're not going to do it today because we're going to, then what we do is we take all the things that we've learned and we put them in this wonderful little template and we create our own surrendering prayer. We create our own prayer to surrender. And it goes like this. Dear God, or whatever name you want to call your higher power. Let's just do this as a way to move us into the meditation, which is going to come up in about 4 minutes. So as a preface for meditation, I'm going to just arbitrarily sort of fill in some blanks. So I'm going to say, Dear God, which is the name that I use that opens up the channel to the higher self. You can use creator, love, whatever, if you're agnostic. You can call it the universe, you can call it life, you can, whatever you typically use to refer to that. You call it higher power, your higher power, whatever you need. I'm here asking for your help to solve this problem. I'm here. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm having this prayer. I created this problem. I created this problem of no money, of having a job that's not paying me enough money to pay my bills. I created this problem. And I'm on the edge of bankruptcy. I created this problem of putting myself into a financial position where I'm on the edge of bankruptcy. It's very clear, isn't it? This problem is causing me to have disconnection and untrusting with my husband. It was having me to have I was dysfunctional relationship with my business partners, with my clients. And people just didn't trust me. I didn't trust me. So the impact it was having on me was a lack of trust in the world, lack of my trust for myself, lack of trust for others, and it made me feel sad. It made me feel angry. It made me feel shame. So you plug in the core negative belief. It makes me feel angry, shame, sad. And then you go on to say, I fully accept responsibility. I fully accept responsibility for my role in creating this problem. And I do not know how to solve it. My life has become unmanageable and I don't know what to do. I do not know how to solve it, which is why I need your help. It's pretty clear why you're having this prayer. You're not asking them to give you the help. You're not saying, I want God to give me some money to pay my bills. You're asking God to have to help you have a transformational shift of who you are and how you see the world. And then you go on to say, I now realize it was my false shadow belief of not being good enough or being unworthy of love. Whatever that shadow belief is that you found in the earlier part of the exercise that drove my thinking that caused this problem. And I'm here to surrender it and everything related to it. So you, the divine universe, can show me a solution. And the prayer goes on, and I would read it out loud. Not only that, but I know deep in my heart how much I am loved by you and believe you will help me resolve this. So I can feel joy. And you just add some positive feeling you want to feel once you have this problem resolved. I want to feel joy and abundance and gratitude. And then you just get still with your breath, you get quiet, and you begin to pray this prayer from your heart space, from a place of humility, humbleness. And your problem will be solved. I absolutely guarantee. If it can solve millions of people's drinking problems, if it can solve my financial problems, it can solve whatever problem you are facing right now. It will show you the solution. Now, it probably may not show you the solution the way you think it is. It didn't show me a solution of going bankrupt. It didn't show me a solution of all of a sudden give me this great big infusion of cash. But what solution it did show me was I needed to get out of that environment and go do something that I love. I needed to change my perception of myself, that I'm a valuable, smart, creative man, and I began to understand that God loves me and that I am loved by the creator of the universe. And I began to see the world as a place of abundance and prosperity that I can show up in and play in. And everything. And now I'm a prosperity coach, and I'm teaching this to others. That's why I'm doing this. This is my why. Because I can tell you that now that I'm living in a world where I'm not afraid any longer, I'm not trying to prove how worthy I am. I'm just having a lot more fun. And I don't worry about money anymore at all. I'm actually making more money than I've ever made in my life doing what I enjoy. I've never enjoyed making money as much as I've enjoyed making money in my current position. And that's how I solve the problem. And that's how you can solve the problem. It isn't all that complicated. And if you like, I'll talk more about it on the other side of the meditation. But if you want a copy of this, you can just simply go, I'll tell you more about how you can get your own copy of this and where you can come see some workshops and learn how to use it. Because this is a powerful, powerful tool that anybody can use, that you can have at your disposal to solve a problem. But right now, we're going to get into that higher power. We're going to plug into that higher power. So if you've got some problem right now, just in your mind say, it's my problem, I created it. Maybe I'm not even sure what the problem is. Just state it as best you can and say, I'm not even sure at this point what the problem is here. I just don't feel good. And I'm having these things, and I want to let go of it right now. So we're going to do it. We're going to do the prayer. We're going to do a prayer to get rid of that, to let it go and to solve it. And that's why we come here every day. The problem of the crisis. When we first started, we got here because there was a problem. We felt that we were shut down. We couldn't move around. We didn't know what was coming next. So we had to say, I can't fix this problem with the pandemic. There's got to be something powerful, bigger than me. That we came here and we pray. We love it. So there's the sound of the bell to start the meditation. And I like to talk about this in the terms of, let me put this down. I don't need this right now. There we go. So now we're going to meditate. We're going to do what's called centering prayer. We're going to do some conscious breathing. And I'm going to teach you a little technique. People think when you meditate, you stop thinking. You don't stop thinking. You don't want to stop thinking. You might want to slow down the thinking to give you some space between the thoughts. But you don't want to completely stop thinking, because if you did, you'd be dead. Physically dead. Spiritually, you're still going on, but you're no longer using the body and the brain to navigate this life. So you don't want to completely stop thinking. Okay. So people say, "Oh, I can't stop thinking." Well, you're not going to stop thinking, but you can slow it down. And when we think, and we say something, when we think, our tongues vibrate. So one way to slow down the thinking is to reverse engineer it and to slow down the tongue, stop the tongue from vibrating. And the way to do that is to take the tip of your tongue and rest it on the roof of your mouth, just behind your two front teeth. Just behind your two front teeth. And just relax it. And slightly part your lips and relax your jaw and just breathe. And as you're breathing, think about the fact that the breath is slowing down and massaging. Massage the tongue with the breath. So just do that for a few minutes. In your mind, think about massaging the tongue. It's a way to relax the tongue. And now we're going to do 3 big belly breaths to get more, to expand our internal landscape, if you will, to anchor that breath deep, deep, deep into our bellies. And what we're going to do that is we're going to, with our minute we'll start, we're going to use our belly muscles. Just notice how they're right now kind of pulling the breath in and using the belly to kind of pull the breath in and let it go, okay? We're going to exaggerate that a little bit. And we're going to pull the breath in through the nose, into the mouth. We're going to come down the throat. We're going to massage the tongue. We're going to open up the heart space. We're going to ground that is, we're going to anchor that breath deep inside our bellies. You ready? Okay, breathe in. Hold it. Breathe a little more. Breathe your belly muscle expanded. Now let it go. Just let it all go. Just let it all release. And as you're letting the breath release, let go of every thought, every opinion, every belief, every judgment, every story, everything, every worry, every problem that your brilliant minds will let them all go. Surrender it all to nothingness, all to spaciousness. Just let it go. Just let it go with the breath. And now we're going to do another one. With your belly muscles, pull the breath in through the nose and the mouth, massage the tongue, open up the heart, pull the breath into the belly as an anchor, hold it, and then we're going to let it go. You ready? Hold it. Take in a little bit more. Hold it. Now let it go. And when you do, let go of any thoughts of which you are ashamed, any thoughts of which you believe are good or bad, any beliefs you have, any opinions. Hold on to nothing. Hold on to nothing. Just let go. And allow yourself to fall back into that infinite love consciousness of your essence, of what we are. And just breathe. Notice the rise and fall of your rib cage. Notice the belly pulling the breath in from the outside, deep into your belly to anchor yourself in. Letting it go with every thought, opinion, and belief you have about me in this world, all your judgments. Just get into the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in love and breathing out love. Giving and receiving the energy of love from our heart. And we're going to do one more belly breath. And then I'm going to be still for the rest of the meditation. You will hear a few interval bells. Those interval bells will wake us up from our thinking, maybe even our sleeping, from our worrying, from our problem solving. Because all of a sudden we find ourselves going down a rabbit hole when we're in meditation. All of a sudden we have a thought about a problem, and all of a sudden we think we're meditating on solving it. No. Let it go. And use the vibration of that bell to take us a little bit deeper. Okay? So again, final belly breath is this. With the belly, pull the breath in through the mouth and nose. Massage the back of that tongue. Open up the heart. Expand the rib cage. Pull the breath deep, deep, deep into your belly. Expand the belly. Hold it. And then gently just let everything go. Soften everything. Soften the mind. Soften the belly. Soften the heart. Soften the jaw. And just allow yourself to float back into pure love consciousness. Just allow yourself to be still with your breath and listen. Oh, there's the sweet sound of that wake-up bell to wake us up from our thinking, our problem solving, our stories, our worrying, maybe even our sleeping. And just smile at that brilliant brain of yours and let it go. And follow that breath deep into your belly. Find that anchor. Begin again to massage the back of the tongue with the breath. Focus on your breathing. Go inside. Fall into the emptiness of that breath. Oh, there's the sweet sound of that bell. I'm welcome there because I was really trying to solve a problem. And I'm going to let it go and I'm going to fall back into love. Using the breath to anchor deep in my belly and soften everything, massage my tongue. Just being still and breathing. It's my primary purpose right now, is just be still and breathe and listen. Just listen. And now there's our final bell to wake us up and bring us back from our meditation, from our prayer. I hope you're feeling well. I'm feeling grounded, powerful, secure, a deeper sense of connection to the world and to Mother Earth, really, to the life force of the planet. I just feel connected to that now, and I hope you do too. That's the point. Because now that's the part of me that's going to be driving the bus the rest of the day. So, again, if you're watching the replay, if you have any questions about this, and if you'd like a copy of this worksheet, send me a direct message. Send me a direct message and ask me for it. Or I'm going to put it in two places. I have as you know, I'm a spiritual teacher and a prosperity and mindset coach working with gay, transgender, and bisexual men. And I have a Facebook group, Financial Heart Space, for gay, transgender, and bisexual men. You can join that Facebook group and you can download a copy of my workbook there. You can also attend some, I'm going to be conducting for the next couple of Wednesdays, I'm going to be conducting a free live workshop on how to use this worksheet. So you can bring your problem, you can bring your worksheet at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, and I will show you exactly how to solve your problem. This will be a very handy tool for any CEO to have in their toolkit. Additionally, I have another Facebook group called the Financial Mystics Sanctuary. It's for everybody to come, and I will post a copy of of the workshop in that Facebook group. Also, I want to make you aware that in that Facebook group, the Financial Mystic Sanctuary Facebook, which is open to everyone, I'm going to be conducting a free live webinar workshop on Saturday at noon Eastern Daylight Time, where you can bring your problem. We're going to go on Zoom for an hour together, and we're going to go through a workshop, and actually a working workshop, where we're going to go through the workbook, and we're going to actually work through and solve your problem to show you exactly how this works. Because I think it's not hard, but if you you just having someone help you learn it is helpful. So that's where you can go from here. You can go into the Financial Mystic Sanctuary, join us over there, and you can get a copy of it. You can send me a direct message, and you can get a copy of it. Or you can go, if you're gay and you're trans or you're bisexual man, you can go into our Facebook group specifically for that for our tribe, and you'll find a copy of it there. It's available to everyone somewhere for you, because I want to help you have a rock solid solution, a process for solving any of your problems the way I do. Very good. May love and prosperity prevail, and I will see you next Monday. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.